Listen, they lied to you. America is older than Africa, and I prove it to you. So before you argue, right, Africa is a Roman name, Scipio Africanus. You see, that name didn't exist in Bible times. It didn't exist in Moses' times, and it didn't exist during Jesus' time. See, the Bible never described Eden in Africa. It described red clay, gold, onyx, and a river that split into four. See, that's not Africa. That's southeastern United States of America. So you gotta ask yourself, if Eden was here, then this land is older than every story they ever told you. This is why if you go to Alabama, they have red soil. Florida has red soil. Georgia has red soil. The Garfield wood is the only wood that was used to build Noah's Ark. And where do you find that? In Florida. And that's why the gold belt is also in America. You see, for so long, the enemy has been trying to hide America's age. America is older than Africa. It's older than any land that's ever existed. That's why this land in America is ancient. If you were born in America, you weren't born in a country. You were born in a portal. A land that's way older than your history books. If most people knew America is the first world, then most people would wake up.
I got a lot of requests for this video from my subscribers. You request, I oblige. But yeah, I just want to say one thing before we get into the rest of this video, is just that a lot of you motherfuckers in my comments was going crazy on me talking about we're not out of Africa. Some of you guys are very respectful about it. You know what I mean? You're just like, I respect you, everything you're saying. You know, I just would say look into that a little more. But a lot of y'all were talking to me like, we're from America. Everything is from America. Da, 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 da. Like it's a fact. Like it's not a theory. It's a fact. And I'm like, it's okay to believe what you believe, but don't get mad at me because, you know, first off, I'm not saying I don't believe it. I've heard of the theory before. My cousin actually talked to me about it the other day, but he wasn't actually talking about the theory. He was just telling me about some of the fossils they found and things like, I mean, not fossils, human remains they found. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But I really didn't dive deeper into it. So this video is a deeper dive into the out of America theory. A lot of people like to say we come from Africa. This theory says life started in America. The next guy is going to break down the perceived evidence for this theory, and after that, the rest of the people are just going to give their opinions and their thoughts on it. So let's get into it.
I'm back with a new video on an article that I created a while ago. This article is asking, is the out of America theory possible? It's a pretty long article, so I'm not going to go through every detail of it, but just going to show you if going over these things that may make it possible. Now we're starting with the pre-Cambrian era to begin. Genealogy history of the Americas, particularly in ancient landmasses that existed before the continents took shape. The Precambrian era, which spans from the formation of Earth about 541 million years, that holds clues. And the evidence is found from rocks that places in the Canadian Shield suggest primordial life such as stromatolites may have thrived in shallow marine environments. Second, we have the oldest water, which is in Canada. The discovery of a 1.5 billion year old water in the Great Lakes region is a remarkable finding. The ancient water was found within the rocks formation located deep beneath the surface, specifically in the Canadian Shield, which is known for its geological stability in ancient rock structures. Next, we have the second oldest water, which is found in Texas. The second oldest water in the world has been discovered in the aquifer region of Texas, where ancient groundwater has been dated to be over 1 million years old. This aquifer, which spans several states in the Great Plains, including parts of Texas, is known as the vast reserves of fresh water that trapped underground for millennia. Next, the oldest fossil tree is found in New York. The oldest fossil tree is found in North, specifically in the Catskill Mountains. This fossilized tree dates back approximately 385 million, placing it in the Denovian period. During this time, Earth was undergoing significant and geographical and biological changes, and forests were beginning to emerge on land. Next, the oldest living tree is found in California, and this tree is 4,800 years old, making it the oldest known non-clonal living trees on Earth. The exact location is kept secret to protect it from potential vandalism and environmental damage. Next, there's a 130-year-old human remains found in Southern California will represent a signifying find in the field of paleoanthropology that could challenge the existing theories about the timeline and migration of humans out of North America. As of my last knowledge, updated October 2023, the oldest widely accepted evidence of human presence in North America is around 15,000 years old, with sites like Clovis points indicating a much more recent arrival of humans during the last ice age. Now, next, going on, we have the oldest mummies in the world. The oldest mummies were found in Nevada, Fallon, Nevada. They're 9,400 years old, called the Spirit Cave mummies. These mummies were discovered near a cave in Fallon, Nevada, and is significant not only for its age, but for the preservation of the remains and associated artifacts. The Spirit Cave mummy represents one of the oldest known human remains found in North America, and has provided researchers with the crucial information about health, diet, and burial practices of people who lived in the region during the early Holocene. Now, the second oldest mummies in the world are found in Peru, and they're actually around 9,000 years old and things like that. And in Peru, they were found living between 800 BC and 100 CE. Now, Mayan and Mississippi culture dated back 29 to 40,000 years ago. In the Kansas City Journal of Prehistoric Man, it is stated that Mayans had an oral tradition of rebelling against a tyrannical ruler migrating to Louisiana 40,000 years ago. Living among the Mississippians, the claim that the Mayans had an oral tradition of migrating to Louisiana 40,000 years ago and living among the Mississippians is not supported by mainstream archaeological evidence or historical consensus. Oral traditions are important cultural narratives that provide insight into beliefs and histories of people that should be considered when doing archaeological findings. The Amazon rainforest is the largest tropical rainforest in the world. It spans over 5.5 million square kilometers and covers parts of several countries, including Brazil, Peru, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, Bolivia, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guyana. Now, Albert Perry. Albert Perry is known for having one of the oldest Y chromosome lineage reported in genetic studies. His Y chromosome, classified as haplogroup A00, has been dated back to 340,000 years old, making it one of the most ancient lineages identified in modern human populations. This finding suggests that this is the most basal branch in the Y chromosome family. And lastly, Henrietta Lacks, the woman found with immortal cells, HeLa cells. Henrietta Lacks was a woman from Virginia with Powhatan Indian heritage whose cancer cells were taken without her knowledge or consent in 1951 during a medical procedure for cervical cancer. These cells became known as HeLa cells, named after the first two letters of her first and last names. HeLa cells have become one of the most important tools in medical research and have contributed significantly to a wide range of scientific breakthroughs. And there's some key points about Henrietta Lacks' HeLa cells. So yeah, why make this type of article? Or is the out of America theory possible? America having the oldest water, oldest living tree, fossil tree, the oldest mummies, which can signify older culture. Mayans being traced back to 40,000 years ago, and Mississippians being traced back to at least 30,000 years ago. Oldest Y chromosome being found in Albert Perry, which is 340,000 years. And then we have Henrietta Lacks, who has HeLa cells that contributed vastly in the medical and science fields. Just some food for thought.
Now, let me just bring this up. I do disagree with, or I don't like people using like, oh, they found a mummy here. Because the mummies that he's talking about in Peru, now listen, hear me out. They recently just discovered some mummies in Asia that are older than those mummies in Peru. So, but that was recently. So when he made this video, he probably was right. Peru did have the oldest mummies. But as of recently, Asia has the oldest mummies. But I do want to say that they probably did that because they see people coming with this out of America theory and they're trying to cover it up. So that could just all be a cover up in Asia. They never found no mummy. They just saying they are. So now you can't say the oldest mummy comes out of America. But that's my problem with finding mummies and shit like that, and why I don't like it is because if you find a mummy, it's only just the mummy you found until you find another one that breaks science and what we believed. You know what I mean? It's not a case of we've looked at all the mummies in the world and we figured out that this is the oldest one. It's not that case. It's out of the ones that we so happen to find, not even looking for them. We just come across these mummies. Then those are the ones who we have data on and how old they are. But that doesn't make them the oldest known. That's why people say the oldest known. But then that can be, that could change at any time. So I don't like mummy studies. But the rest of this, I think it's a spot on theory. You know what I mean? Especially the lady at the end who had the fucking what are they called? Indestructible, not indestructible, but healthy cells, super health cells, or whatever she had. That's crazy. That's crazy. I might have to do a video on that because that is crazy. Never even heard of that. But let's keep going.
I've heard you numerous times refer to Africans in America as so-called African Americans,
Yeah.
right? Or so-called black people. You say it all the time, but I never heard you explain. Please explain. What do you mean by so-called African Americans or so-called black people?
So-called black people. Black is the color of my hair. Black is the color of this watch band. Black is the color of the hoodie you got on. So, of course, we're not those colors. We are brown. We're copper. We're bronze. We're brown people. That's our pigmentation. That's the color of our melanin. So that's why I say so-called black, because black is the color of our Crayola. Black is the color of our crown. We're not the color of a crown. We're copper-skinned people. The reason why I say so-called African Americans is because not all, but 98% of the so-called Africans that's in America are not African at all. We actually are indigenous to this land and we come from this land. So we have to quit acting like that all life started in Africa. No, all life stimulated everywhere. There have been black people on every inch of this planet since the beginning of this earth. You know, so we have to understand that and really do the research. And when you really do that research and you travel the world, you will see that. When you go to Asia and you go to China, the first people there that are still there now that they have ran to the mountains was Asiatic so-called Africans. The only reason why they put African to anything that's black, but that's not true. That's not true. Matter of fact, if you go to Africa, most of your African tribes don't even call that land Africa. They have another name for it. So where do we get this name from? You start saying that these names are named after conquistadors or people that go on quest and take over things. So the reason why I say so-called African Americans, I say African Americans because we identify as that as black people in America. I say so-called because me personally, I am not an African. Now, am I saying that I'm not in a relation or my DNA doesn't match Africa? Of course, we all a family. The whole world was black before white people were created. I want to keep that clear. Everything was indigenous. You have indigenous people of African lands. You have indigenous people of American lands. You have indigenous people of Asian lands. You have indigenous people of European lands. The indigenous people of European lands was called the Moors. They call it the Dark Ages. Why do they call it the Dark Ages? Because it was ran and controlled by dark people before white conquistadors came and became oppressors over that land. So everywhere on Earth, even in Australia, you have the Aborigines. So everywhere you go on Earth, there's a so-called black melanated being that originated there first. All life did not start in Africa. Many people are now starting to talk about that. There's a bunch of literature and stuff that's now widely spread and talking about these things. And America is one of the most ancient, oldest civilizations in the world. We have some of the oldest pyramids in the world. We have some of the oldest sphinx in the world. We have some of the oldest literatures and writings in the world. America is the ancient old world. And we can do a debate on this. We can talk about it. Anybody want to sit down and go through the literature? We can. I'm all game for it because I'm that confident in the research and the stuff that I did. The Grand Canyon is one of the oldest temples and civilizations of people, of ruins that have been left behind. And a lot of stuff in the Grand Canyon have been carbon dated, and it's carbon dated back to be older than certain things that are in Africa. We have an actual pyramid 20 minutes from where I stay. It's in Cahokia. It's in East St. Illinois. It's called the Cahokia Mounds. One of the most oldest pyramids in the world. The only other pyramid that I have found to be older than that is a pyramid in Mexico. But guess what? When you go to Mexico and you look at the populations around those pyramids, do you see Spanish people of light complexion? You see nappy-headed, dark-skinned people that speak good Spanish because them are your original Mexicans. You can't go to no geographical location on Earth that it wasn't melanated beings there first. Whether I'm talking about the Dominican Republic, I'm talking about Puerto Rico, I'm talking about Cuba, South America, anywhere you go on the land, you're going to see black people there first. And then all other people come from us. And this is the truth. Science backed this up. Biology backed this up. Biochemistry backed this up. So when I say so-called African American, it's not to be derogatory towards African people. Them are our brothers and sisters. We are cousins through the genealogies of DNA and bloodlines. We are all connected. But I don't come from Africa. My ancestry line don't come from Africa. I come from the Shabtee tribe of Louisiana. I know the tribe I come from. I know the zone I come from. We Chickasaw Nation. I know my people. We are not African. We're not. We are indigenous to the Americas.
I was talking to a gentleman one time, and he was breaking down locally over here his ancestry, and he was showing pictures, but the pictures he showed me didn't look like traditional indigenous people that we see. They were all basically, they weren't fully black looking, but they weren't that light indigenous.
But see, but then you got the $5 Indian too, where you got the Spanish conquistadors who came in and they made it amongst us on purpose to take over our identity in our land. So you see your typical older natives, they still got dark complexions, but you see them with straight hair and stuff. That's where integration and breeding came in at. And then after a lot of decades after that, you start seeing them have the pointy nose, the long hair. Now they building teepees. We didn't build teepees, we built huts. So if you look at what they're doing and you see where they come from a different part of the world, but they migrated to the Americas, and now they got all the casinos, they getting all of these different, rewards from the government, but that all was to keep us out. The whole plot and plan is to create this mass translated slave propaganda. Not saying that black people was not enslaved in America. We suffered from slavery. My great-great-grandma was actually in slavery. She used to tell me slavery stories. But that was the European man coming over here and taking their own land from them and making them work on their own land. We was already selling and trading cotton. I want to make that clear. They came over and took over our trading of cotton and our selling of cotton and put us in slavery in our own land. We are prisoners of war. It's a difference. We are more prisoners of war than slavery. That's why, for instance, a slave, that's a product. You make money off of it. You wouldn't castrate it because you would want it to make more slaves. We were castrated. You wouldn't burn hundreds of thousands of them alive. That's your Product. Why would you destroy your product and make you more money? We were prisoners of war. They came to our land. They took over our land. The strong ones of us, they broke us mentally, and then they made us work on our own land. How you think we did this shit so good? We're the best cotton pickers because we was picking cotton before they came here. You see what I'm saying? So then they made it seem like it was this big mass transatlantic slave trade where millions of us came from Africa. Where's the boats? Where's the boats at? Like, everything in history have evidence of the past. They done found pyramids in the sea. They done found Atlantis. They done found things in the Bermuda Triangle. They have explored a lot of the depths of the sea. Not saying that 100% of it was been explored, but majority of the sea have been explored, where they finding all these ancient relics showing us the past. Where are these slave ships? Now, if you research and you study shipwrecks, and if you study different things that was left in the sea from here to the Caribbean islands and from here to all the other different islands, you will find relics of our people leaving from South America, going to these different islands. You will see that, but you won't find anything of significant amount of evidence that's coming from so-called Africa to America. You won't find it. Why? If we went through this big transatlantic slave trade, then where are the true stories coming down from my ancestors and coming down from my family? I'm very deep into my family. I know my family bloodline, where we come from. My grandma on my mama's side was full blood. I mean, on my grandpa's side, or my paternal side, full-blooded Cherokee. She used to chew tobacco. She had long ponytails. She used to give me buffalo quarters that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars now. And I wish I would have kept them. But she was full-blooded Cherokee. She used to be in her full Cherokee regalia talking to her. I used to sit by her left hand, and she ended up getting like throat cancer because all she did was chew tobacco. Ancient traditions of Indians in America. And she told me where she was from. My grandma, my great-grandma on my maternal side was full-blooded Choctaw, a Chaptay, from Louisiana. So I did my gene. And then there's another thing. You have something called African ancestry, and guess what you got too? Indigenous native ancestry. Why is there two different blood tests? So I even think it's something going on with that, on what they're doing with these DNA tests that's automatically bringing us back to Africa. There was a test done where this dude, it was a white man. He said that he had a suspicion about them lying with the DNA test, and he sent the saliva of his lizard to Ancestry.com. Did you know his lizard came back 34% Nigerian? I'm just saying. So man, all this propaganda, man. And look, I don't care if they mad at me or not. All I'm saying is research what I'm saying. I know it sounds taboo, but what happened if the biggest conspiracy in the history of lies happened? And that is that we are indigenous from America. We come from America. We don't come from Africa. But in order for them to take the precious treasures of America, which we have oil, we have gold, we have copper, we have all of that here. They act like all this is in Africa. All this is here too. What happened if it was to drive us out, connect us back to Africa, for we want to go back home, and while we going back to so-called home, we're leaving our home and they taking over our land? I'm just saying, when you really think about it, then look, what happened if the maps is flipped? Because from my understanding of my studies, Lebanon, Illinois was called Lebanon before there was a Lebanon over there. What about Israel? Here. What about Judah, or what you would call Utah? This is here. You start getting into these old names. There's a city out here called Morocco. These are different cities. And what about Memphis? Where's Memphis at? Memphis, Tennessee, that has one of the oldest pyramids here. It's a pyramid in Memphis right now. They didn't put glass over. That's a real pyramid. But then you have a Memphis over there in where? Egypt. What about Cairo? Cairo, Illinois. That's here in the Americas. So we have these different cities in these different states named after stuff that's in Africa. But when you do deep research and study, these was named that here before it was named that there. I'm saying we got to talk about. Then you got stuff like Milwaukee. That's an Indian tribe name. You know what I'm saying? Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's an Indian name. So you start going, and then you got different sections in, because Missouri and Illinois is one of your most oldest places in the world. Where I'm from, one of your most oldest places. You got Chickasaw Street, you got Cherokee Street, and then you start seeing there's different museums around there. They got all of our stuff in it. They got other people's faces on it. They have did this to the whole world, where they go around where ancient ancestral black people come from. They will change the faces to them, and then they'll take our history. So my belief, my research, my study shows that we are in the oldest parts of the world, which is ancient America. We are not from Africa. I do believe that all people of melanin descent do have some type of ancestral and DNA connection, but we are not all the same people, and we don't all keep a hold of the same traditions. And I believe a lot of islanders, like such as yourself, actually come from the lower Americas, and it actually was a ship's trade there, where a lot of y'all went from the South America to the islands, but it didn't happen the other way, where we all came by millions on this big ass boat, stacked on each other like sardines, came over from Africa, from a port called Yehuda, all the way over into the Americas. And I haven't found any evidence that truly suggests that. Now, can you tamper with evidence and make things look like something? Yes, that's why we all think we're from Africa when we not. And there is no coincidence that you don't only have African Americans, but you have African Australians. You have African this, African that. Why do they feel the need to keep putting that name on it? Because they're trying to make us subconsciously identify with a place that is not really our home. This is our home.
And I want you to clarify stuff for people that struggle with listening and hearing stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you believe the slave trade took place, but not to the magnitude that they say.
Exactly.
All
Yes.
right, I just want to clarify.
No.
For those
So
who
I
struggle
do
listening.
believe I hate to call it slave trade. I would call it prisoner of war trade. I do believe that we took against our will and took over water, not this vast amount of water, but over water, and went somewhere else to work for hire, or to work for free, should I say. I don't think it came from Africa to the Americas. I believe it happened reverse, where we went to the Americas, to different islands and stuff like that. I do believe that. And the reason why is because you can find evidence of that. But as I really, really research, I can't find no really good hard evidence of, especially of the boats and stuff, of us coming from Africa to the Americas. And look, I'm willing to have a sit down and talk. And if I find that evidence, I will change my concept a little bit, but it's too much evidence to show that we originate from the Americas.
And one thing I want to clarify, people don't listen fighting. I just want to make sure I hear what you're saying, but I want to make sure people are hearing what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Please clarify that, the notion that, so you believe Africans, black people have an African origin, but they just been here longer. They didn't come directly from Africa. They came here at some point.
No, I'm not saying that.
All right.
I'm saying, so this is what I don't believe we come from Africa at some point. I don't think that all life started in one geographical location. I believe that life originated from Earth simultaneously in different spots. Now we have to get into...
I see what you're saying now. All right,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, but I believe that all of us, or I don't think somebody was born in Africa and then migrated millions and trillions of miles and
developed in different places.
I think man developed in different places, and I think the development of man in different places do come from the same DNA. That's why I say African brothers and sisters are my family. But we have different traditions. We even our physiological and our DNA structure is different from us in Africa. Like I did a whole seminar showing the biological difference not only between so-called African Americans and Europeans, but so-called African Americans and African people. There's different physiological structures that's different. Now people will argue and say because the geographical location we have adapted we have adapted in certain ways to survive in our environment, and I can agree with that to a certain extent. But still, the facts are the facts. So I'm saying that we originated in America, just like the Aboriginal Australians, the so-called black people over there. They didn't come from Africa or the Americas. They originated in Australia. Same thing as the Asians, who they call Asiatic, Afro-Asiatics. I don't think that they came from Africa. It's too much stuff, evidence showing. I can do another seminar on this. It's too much evidence showing that they originated there. I think we, what they call it, spontaneous or simultaneously, were created in different parts of the earth for a reason. Now you have to get into hybrid and gene selection. You just go back deep into the Anunnaki. It's all the same story. All the same story that comes. Yeah, but this all goes back to the same biblical story. Whether it's biblically, whether we talk about the Egyptian scrolls, the Anunnaki scrolls, all these different scrolls talk about a mass creation everywhere on earth. Only time I see where it talks about in one part, Eastern and Eden, that's talking about the Bible. And then even when you get into that literature, I speak and read fluent Hebrew. Eden was the whole world. Eastern and Eden was over there in Mesopotamia. So, man, look, we can talk. Look, I do this for real. That's what I'm saying. So people gonna get on here and cuss me out and have crazy comments. All I'm asking is before you do that, just study the whole matter. There is some validity in what I'm saying, man. It really is.
Okay, y'all, hear me out. I believe America's Egypt. I'm a huge conspiracy theorist. Whatever. That's not the point I'm trying to make. So, y'all notice how black Americans are the only people who don't. We don't only, like, black people who don't. People that don't have identity, a background, let them tell it. Now, granted, we have made our mark in the world, which a lot of the black influence does come from black America. Don't argue with me on that. This is what it is. And, but it's made to be like ghetto if we do. Anything we do, it's gonna be deemed bad, but if somebody else does it, it's like, ooh, la la. That ain't what this is about. So I was just talking, I'm like, I believe America's Egypt. Let's put that on the floor right now. I don't care how you feel. I don't want to argue with you. I believe America's Egypt. I do believe that they lied to us and said Egypt was Egypt to throw us off from who we really are and brought Africans over to America, because the same thing they do now with the industry. They bring people from all over the world that are just black to cosplay black Americans. They're really not from America. Same thing they did with slavery. But that's not the point I'm making. The point I'm making is I think America's Egypt, because I'm like, okay, black people, we just whatever. You know, no one wants to tell us where we're from. So people from Jamaica are Jamaican. People from Africa are African. People from Australia are Australian. People from India are Indian. People from Mexico are Mexican. People from America, which is really Egypt, are Egyptians. Now, what y'all think? Y'all think I'm reaching too far? But I really think that's, I believe that.
History itself has been, all over the place, as we know, okay?
It hasn't. It's very solid. History
I
is very
don't,
solid.
I don't call them pretend Indians anymore. No, I
Yeah,
don't.
history is very solid. I was
They
literally
have-
reading.
They do have the reason why, 1 second, Longshanks. The reason why I don't is after, through the arguments, finding a few lovely ladies and gentlemen that were willing to sit with me intellectually and have a breakdown of why that's their position. And me speaking to my friends academically in the history circle
They
that
make
I'm involved
stuff
in.
up. They're not indigenous to America.
1 second!
Let her finish.
Longshanks. It's
You did
actually
that
known
thing.
as the out. It's not unknown. It's just known as the out of America theory, and mainstream historians, of course, won't stand by it because there isn't, as far as how we measure evidence, there isn't enough to support a global stamp on it as we would stamp something.
Right.
However, there are those that have and still do have conversations on it, like they do with anything within history and science.
Only
Now,
wackadoodles have conversations
one
about it.
second.
And I put that last clip in there because I'm sick of motherfuckers like her. I mean, like him, who won't allow her to talk, who won't allow her to get her thought off, who won't even take a second. And that's the same motherfucker who will hear about a theory like this and won't even do their own research, won't even look into it. You know what I mean? Immediately like, no, you're crazy. Then why not just let her get her crazy thought off? You know what I mean? Why not just let her talk about it? What the fuck is wrong with that? But it's those type of people who believe everything the white man say. They believe all the history that the white man gives. And it's like, bro, you can clearly see that everything has been renamed by these people. Our history has been twisted by these people. Noses knocking off the Sphinx, glassed up pyramids destroyed, sacred land in America being hidden. Places in the Grand Canyon Grand Canyon. No. Yeah, the Grand Canyon that you can't go because they're hiding shit. Is it the Grand Canyon? Nor here nor there. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. It's just sick. These people are fucking sick. And in order for you to believe this shit and not even give nobody a chance, that's my biggest thing with this. Like, even if I don't 100% believe in this theory, I'll give it a chance, and I want to spread it because I might not be the one to push it further, but the person who watches this video might be the motherfucker who's going to go out and do more research and actually prove this theory is true. They might get so passionate about it that they're serious about it. You know what I mean? Hopefully, I can spark the mind and do that. But let's keep going.
It's in Memphis.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's where you were.
Yeah.
I see.
Memphis,
okay.
the capital of ancient Egypt.
Right. Right.
So y'all, I'm telling y'all, like, y'all think people crazy. Allegedly, America is Egypt, you know. That's why they make it so hard for us to leave America. Y'all notice how every other race has traveled the world many times. Like, people just do it. But a lot of us in America, black people that don't have the money to, like people that don't have money for passports, but people barely have money to make a life for themselves in America. Like, people are just going out the country. They don't want us out the country because if we leave the country, our energy leaves the country. But this is our land. We're fueling our own land. Everything is about us. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Do that with y'all will. Stop telling people that's from Africa. Black people are Egyptians. And I'll continue to say that. Black people are Egyptians. We have Egyptian heritage. Because, you know why they don't want to call us Egyptians? Because Egyptians just disappeared. Mayans just disappeared. But it's still Mayans in Mexico. You can look up. I met a guy that speaks like Mayan. And they live like off in the woods and stuff. Some of them don't. It's like really a thing like that. And then it's like I told y'all before, if people in Jamaica are Jamaicans, people in Russia are Russians, people in Africa are Africans, where the Egypt just disappeared. They don't even call people in Africa Egyptians. They not label Egyptians. America is Egypt. We're Egyptians. If America's Egypt, that makes black people Egyptians. Why do you think we so creative naturally? Why do you think we can do so much? Like, it is just in our DNA. It ain't even nothing we can do. We're just naturally talented. You get what I'm saying? We are the basketball players. So we are the entertainment. We are the people that make it happen. So, yeah, take the information with what y'all will. And black people are everywhere. You got black Mexicans, black everything. Like, it's all right, y'all.
I just came across a video that showed a map of America before colonization. And I found it so funny that some of the most sacred lands that we know, such as Jerusalem, Morocco, Egypt, all originated here. They all exist on maps pre-colonization. After colonization, these areas' names were changed. What's crazy is, even in Jerusalem, it was not initially called Jerusalem. It was called Jerusalem. It was called Jerusalem. It was called everything but Jerusalem. The Greeks came in and changed the name. The Europeans. Morocco was founded in 1956. In Egypt in Africa was not initially called Egypt. It was Kemet. After it was Kemet, they changed the name to Aegyptus. After the Greeks came in and they started switching shit around, they switched the name from Aegyptus to Egypt. And what I find even more mind-boggling about this is Egypt is a couple of cities in America to this day. And not only that, there's a special city called Little Egypt. And the reason why it's called Little Egypt is because of its relation to the story of the land of Goshen in the Bible, and how all the people from the north moved toward the south when there was this famine or this dry spell where the crops were not growing. And they all come to where? The Mississippi River, or should I say the Nile River. Y'all don't find it strange? Y'all don't find that weird? I can't be the only one. I can't be the only one. I'm just saying, it's real odd that sacred lands, that the name of sacred lands are on old maps of America. I find it odd that even the name of the Nile River is on an old map of America, right next to Egypt. I find it funny that a city in America has a reference to a Bible story, a sacred text. Y'all don't find that funny? Y'all don't find that suspicious? What I find even more interesting is when you look at these old maps, even the directions are flipped. Even the directions are flipped. And that is on purpose. They flipped everything because they didn't want us to find our origin. They didn't want us to find ourselves. This is the old world. We are the original people. They know it. Y'all need to detach from them and tap in. Shakespeare said it best. The whole world is a stage, and they are merely acting out their script. This is not our reality. This isn't real.
America was Atlantis. Let's go with this and see how it works out, okay? Well, we're told that the Garden of Eden had 4 rivers, right? So that would be the center of the world. The tree of life is in the center. That is the vortex of the primer field, which is the structure of the world, which is a torus field within a torus field infinitely. Ask a scientist, he'll tell you that's the structure of the universe. Well, it's the structure of the world, according to everything we've researched, okay? That is scientific. You live on the inert plane inside at the bottom of the torus field, between 2 torus fields. So in this model, if you were in the center of the world in the Garden of Eden, you were created by the Elohim, which were the gods, which are spiritual beings that came and created avatar bodies in order to experience a physical plane. And what happened was these original humans, which are dark-skinned, by the way, these humans started to play God. They began to eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, which means polarity, which means trying to navigate the world using your left and right brain function instead of your intuition in the center, which is your balance. And that is playing God. That's throwing things out of whack, because anybody knows when you try to micromanage or you're multitasking, you start creating a web of confusion. And it just starts to get out of hand, right? These humans were cast out of the Garden of Eden in that way. And so they go into the land of Nod, which is the land of forgetfulness, and this is mirrored in a physical way. So they're moving out into these land masses around the central islands called Eden. And these land masses is where they go to start creating, and they become technologically advanced, because remember, they're still in a higher state of consciousness. They haven't fallen completely into ignorance yet. That's considered the golden age, where you still have superconductive intellect or abilities, right? And so they created these incredible civilizations called Atlantis. And so we don't know if they stretched out all around the globe or not, but if they did, they were perfectly mimicking the setup in America, because if you go to Europe, everything is laid out exactly the way it would have been in America. They're perfectly, if you superimpose them over each other, they line up. So you have this massive civilization, and they're using advanced technologies, but they get out of control. So they start fighting with each other as the ages start declining, right? Silver Age, Bronze Age. They're starting to war amongst themselves. They create mass destruction, and then a great cataclysm occurs. Now, we don't know if it was because of these wars that they were creating, or if it was just a natural part of this cycle of creation where these cyclic changes happen and influence humans, or the humans are influencing the cycles. We don't know, but chicken or egg, right? But anyway, it happened. So we're going down into these denser periods, and mass destruction happens. There is a period of ice covering most of the of Canada and North America. So you have your ice age, and during that time, this is when the lighter skinned humans start to appear, right? And people start eating meat. They start, continue to war amongst themselves for knowledge, technologies, because a lot of the technologies were lost in the cataclysm. They had to preserve them somehow. They had to preserve their records, and they wanted to hoard them for themselves. They didn't want anybody else to have that information. And this is all verifiable. This is what happened in history, right? But we don't know exactly what I'm talking about, because we weren't told these things. We're told a completely opposite story because they reverse everything, remember? So you have these white-skinned humans that start popping up, and that's during the Iron Age. So you go from, it literally shows you the golden age would be the golden, dark, brown-skinned peoples, right? The Silver Age, they would start to become lighter and lighter. You even have in Vedic history the stories of the blue gods. Is it possible that the blue gods came along after the golden, brown-skinned gods? And the Iron Age would be the whiter, much whiter, because you have, different phases that split into the Golden Age and the Silver Age. That would be one spectrum, where you'd have a more of a golden, warm hue, and then a silvery hue, and then you'd have the bronze, which is a golden, warm hue, and then the white, which is a silvery blue hue. So you're going from red shift to blue shift, red shift to blue shift. Does that make sense? But just, anyway, four major cycles, and it affects the skin color of humans, obviously. So now you see that the Rosicrucians appear, which are the lighter skinned, what they're calling the Europeans, that want to hide this fact that it was actually the darker skinned humans from much further back that had this advanced technologies. And so they're saying, well, we are the first to occupy America, and the natives were just a bunch of imbeciles running around in diapers with spears, and the story is completely different according to them. But the fact is, there's too much evidence now to support the fact that America had advanced civilizations, and most likely advanced technologies, because there's no sign of warfare, and everything was about the corn, the eating vegetables, not animals. And so you have these stories of human sacrifice and stuff like that. It's hard to know what to really believe and what caused that to happen, which gets into the whole sacrificing to the gods, which were reptilian, and that's a whole other story. But this is all really fascinating. And there's a book called Mystic Americanism that you should really check out. I just purchased that myself, so I'm about to read that book. And there's a guy on YouTube that talks about all of this, and I will make sure to put that in the video before I post it. So check that out, and then get off your phone and go outside.
Hey, yo, I appreciate y'all for checking in with me. Please like, comment, subscribe, hype this video up. Let me know what you think about the Out of America theory. Me personally, I think there's some validity to it, of course. And especially when they're talking about the city names, I've never thought about that. But I have been, especially when I was in North Dakota, there was Little Egypt River. You know what I mean? There was all type of things like that. So, you know, but like we said, a lot of these Europeans came over here and changed the names of everything. So, you know, it's tricky. And hopefully in the future I'll find more videos that go and dive into more detail, or somebody's progressing the theory and we can go through that. But as of now, my take on it is it's possible. It's very possible. Anything is possible. But I think this is, if I had to put a percentage on it, I would say I'm about 70% sure it might be true. You know what I mean? 70%. You give me your percentage in the comment section. But like I said, please like, comment, subscribe, hype this video up. I appreciate y'all for coming through. You the shit, no flies, we out.